Up and coming flyweight slash bantamweight prospect Kevin Wirth. What's going on, Kevin? How is life in California right now?
Good, man. Really relaxed. No work for a lot of people because of lockdown and all that. So I'm kind of in that boat, but I'm lucky enough to where I can keep a few clients and have some online stuff going. So I'm making it. Um, and yeah, we just now got back to training kind of in the last couple of weeks, which is awesome. I'm really happy to be back at it. I was feeling a little, you know, like I didn't have enough to do. It's good to see all the boys again, get back to work.
Oh, did you feel a little cabin fever while being at home so long?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I live at the school that I train at. So
Mhm.
even though the gym was closed, I still had access to like heavy bags and some weight equipment and stuff like that. So I could still do a lot. I just didn't have anybody to work with. So I was able to like get up and get outside and get my energy out and all that. So cabin fever didn't hit me too hard.
Oh yeah, so your situation was much better than a lot of other fighters out there who are just at home with limited access to anything.
Yeah, I really lucked out with where I landed and kind of like the living situation that I was in when this whole thing hit.
Your background, I saw another interview that you did and you talked about your background when you were a kid. You grew up a few years in Europe, traveling
Mm-hmm.
around with your family, a little bit different from most other fighters or just other people in general. What do you remember most about that time?
Well, it wasn't so much traveling. My dad's Swiss and my mom's American, and she was a high diver and he was a ski acrobatic. So they met in kind of like not the same traveling circus, but kind of like their two companies did a lot of traveling together, and so up until I was six, we ended up just living in Switzerland. Um, but uh, but yeah, a little bit of the language I remember, but it that place is just gorgeous, and I lucked out in that respect too. I have a bunch of family still over there, so I get to go overseas and visit and travel every once in a while. So it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, getting a little bit of culture, right?
Yeah, totally. But really, like when it comes to fighting, what really helped me out is my parents were. I always call them circus performers, but that's not quite right. But I'm just gonna call them circus performers. But like I remember being really little and them encouraging me to try flips off the couch and stuff like that, and they just wrap a t-shirt around my waist and help me out. And they were never like, oh no, don't go upside down, don't try backflips. They were always just like, oh, you're doing it wrong, you got to throw your arms more and like whatever. So growing up in a household with that kind of culture, I think gave me a nice like athletic head start.
Oh yeah, and also made you fearless in many ways, right?
hmm Yeah, because there was never like a, oh, don't do that, it's too dangerous. It was just like if you're gonna do that, here's how you do it correctly so you don't hurt yourself. And so having that mindset has helped me out a lot in fighting because fighting's scary.
Yeah, it is. It's the scariest thing. That's why there's only a limited amount of people that are able to do it well.
hmm
Now, your first gym. Talk about that place and how old were you when you first got into training any kind of martial art?
So, like for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to do like be like a Three Ninja Turtles or Bruce Lee or like whatever. So when I was in first grade, my parents took me to Kung Fu, and I did kung fu with my little brother at a few different places until I hit middle school, and then from there I started wrestling when I was young too, and then from there I switched to capoeira, and then found mixed martial arts when I was 18, I think. But yeah, real
Okay.
traditional style of kung fu, and it's funny because I still like I've never done karate or I don't on purpose bring these traditional arts into my MMA, but I get asked all the time if I'm a karate fighter or if I do kung fu or whatever. So I guess I've kept some of that, which I think is cool. But
Yeah, yeah. If you look at some of the fights, you do have a little bits and pieces of kung fu and the kicks
hmm
and it shows, man. Maybe it's just muscle memory. When you get out there, it just comes out of you
totally.
from
Well, I mean,
when you're young.
I spar like that too. I train like that. I think it's a good style. It's just something that kind of like happened. Like I study a lot of like Conor McGregor and Tenshin Nasukawa, and both those guys have that real sideways kind of karate stance, and I saw it working for them. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try that, and it worked for me kind of naturally.
Oh, speaking of tension, before the pandemic, you took a long trip throughout Asia. I saw you
Yeah.
visited Japan and Korea and Thailand. And were there any other countries that you went through?
Nope, those were the three.
Okay, okay. So in Japan, was that your first time in Japan, in Korea? What was the experience like just landing there and seeing everything for the first time?
Well, the cultures are awesome. It was really cool because I've never been really out of the West. I've never been to a place that like really gave me culture shock. But there was definitely some things in Japan and definitely Thailand that was so far removed from anything that I'm used to. That was a lot of fun. The training in Japan was hard because I didn't know this before they went, but they didn't really do the like drop in student kind of thing. It's like for most places that I found, it's like if you're not down to be like dedicated for at least a few months and like kind of like study under a master, then they don't want just like random casual drop-ins. So that was a little tough. But Korea, man, Koreans are tough. I trained at a couple different places. I think I trained at Team Posse and another spot, but the training was always so hard, and their movement's really good, and like they just trained so hard. They did like an hour and a half of practice, and then half an hour of like Olympic lifting, and they just killed me. I don't know how they pushed themselves through that, but that was a lot of fun getting to see like the different styles and the different mentalities that different cultures bring into the game. Because like in the West, you see a lot of times people take it so seriously and they put their like mean face on and stuff like that, which it's definitely a way to go. But like Thailand is like the exact opposite of that, where they're smiling and they're kind of talking shit to each other, and everything's like, oh, hey, and they're having fun with it like it's a game. It's like that's much more my style. But yeah, it was fun seeing different attitudes kind of applied to the same game.
They're all Asian countries because I've also been to all three of those countries, and they're all Asian countries, but it's just so different. Like the way
Yeah,
people act, the language is completely different, and just their mannerisms, everything. But they're all when you get into the gym, it's serious business
for
for
sure.
most of those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean it's always hard work, and everybody's getting ready for the same thing. Like you said, like it's a scary sport. So if you're not taking it seriously, you can have fun with it and you can joke and all of that. But if you're not putting in the hard work, part of you knows that, and then the game becomes even scarier.
What do you think you gained most from that experience? Because I saw you did a lot of vlogging and interviewing and things like that too.
Mm-hmm. Um, like I said, part of the reason that I went was not so much for like individual techniques, like with YouTube and everything like that, you can get kind of the same techniques everywhere, but just how they set up the flow of training, how much or little they let people like joke around, and like different cultures psychology behind the game. I thought was really different, and interesting. And then it's sort of like mixed martial arts where you can like pick and choose, like, oh, this works for me, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. So it was really good to just like go around and talk to lots of different fighters and lots of different coaches and kind of like pick their brains more on the mental side of the game.
It's always good to run into people, and also in those countries you never know who you're gonna run into. Thailand especially, you go to like I saw you were at Tiger, and in Tiger it's just have you ever been to a facility like that before? It's like the biggest place I've ever been. It's just massive there.
Yeah, totally, and good people on every mat. Lots of fun coaches. Yeah, that was fun, man. No, I've never been to a place like that, and that was also really cool because like obviously you were in Thailand, but there's people from England, Russia, Germany, all over the world that come train there. So you get to see those different attitudes and different like approaches to the game almost with every new sparring partner, which was a lot of fun. And just like
Yeah. Well,
not so much like a confidence builder, but just like, the more people you fight and the more people that you spar with, the more human everybody becomes, and humans are much less scary. Like for me, I know I have like a habit of turning my opponents into monsters before I actually see them, and then I'm like, oh, you're just a guy my size. All right, fine. Like so, being exposed to lots of different people kind of humanizing everybody, whether they're Thai or Japanese or whatever, was really good for me.
Digital Dojo MMA, that's your business that you run. Why did you decide to create that? Was it something that you needed to supplement the income, or is it just a passion project that you have right now?
It's a passion project. It helps a little bit with income. It was something that I liked, that I set up before traveling, so that because I'm a personal trainer and a coach as well, so that I could keep working with my students and stuff like that, that still wanted to train while I was gone. And now it's just a thing that's kind of like up and running. But yeah, man, I really like the movements behind the moves, kind of like like teaching people how to control their bodies, because a lot of times, like, it doesn't matter if you know how to throw a kick if your hips are tight and you're slow and you're not quite connected, so getting people moving in a way that opens them up and makes them athletic, so that when they go to their actual gym, they learn how to throw a kick, their body's prepared for that. That was kind of the thought process behind the project.
There's a big misconception, I feel like, when people or fans just watch fighters fight in the cage, and they feel like, oh, I could do those moves, but when they get there, it's a completely different. Those guys have been practicing for 10 plus years to get those moves down, and I feel like once you get into the gym, you realize that it's not easy at all.
For sure. And it's not just like throwing one move. I mean, you can teach somebody how to throw a kick or how to throw a punch in a few months, and they can get that pretty down. But it's like when to throw it, how to set it up, being relaxed while you're being attacked. All those things don't come easy. They take a lot of investment and loss, a lot of being down to just get beat up until you're okay with getting beat up, before you can start to keep your head enough to apply those moves that you learn. That's the hard part, I think.
Now, you yourself as a professional, you're 8-1. The only blemish you have is a split decision. Does that fight still burn inside you, or did you accept it and just move on?
No, it was a good fight against a good guy that I learned a lot from. I'm not in this to always have a perfect record. I mean, perfect record comes with more money and more opportunity. And so that would be cool. But really, I'm here to learn as much about myself and about the sport as I can. And I've had a loss in my professional career and a couple losses in my amateur career that were some of the most helpful things for me. I think if you lose, maybe that sucks, but it only really sucks if you don't learn the lesson. If you learn the lesson from a loss, it can really help you out. And so there were some mental things that I learned and some technical things about how I was doing my stance and why I was moving straight backwards in lines and getting myself takedown and stuff like that I was able to fix, and now they're fixed. I was able to close that hole. So it's okay. It doesn't burn me.
With a fan that's first learning about you and wanna see something that shows your best qualities, what fight do you feel like that shows that you performed so well that it was just almost like a flawless victory?
I don't have one, man. That's part of the reason why I keep fighting. It's like a piece of art or something. Everybody's kind of after their perfect performance or after their perfect piece of art. But what keeps a lot of us fighting is that frustration of you go in and you perform well, and whether you win or lose, and there's something that wasn't quite perfect about it. And you're like, oh shit, okay, I want to fix that for the next time. All right, okay, now there's got to be a next time. And that's part of the driving force is that I don't have my perfect fight yet, or my perfect piece of art that I can show people and be like, this was me at my most perfect. So I'm still chasing that.
All right, now with you're on a 3-fight winning streak. What's next for you? What do you expect out of this year when shows start popping back up and with the UFC is still going, so maybe that, I don't know. What's Contender series? What is your focus?
Well, an article came out that voted me I think it was MMA Weekly. It was something. And they voted me one of the top 10 guys this year to be on the Contender series. And so I have a manager pushing for that. That would be awesome. I would love, for the goal for everybody that's serious about this is the UFC. That's the place that you can make a living, or there's a couple good places to go now. I don't really mind, but what I'd like to do is really make a good living for a while, being able to do this thing that I really like. But yeah, man, it's kind of hard to tell because COVID hit and everything. So a lot of the smaller organizations shut down for a while. And so like the plan is just kind of like to get back to training, get into really good shape. And then when something pops up, be ready to take it. But definitely the Contender series is something that me and my manager have our eye on.
If fans want to learn from you, you know, they want to just meet you, they could go to the arena in San Diego.
Yep.
And Kevin, thank you, man, so much for the time. Go visit his website, Digital Dojo MMA, and learn something. Thank you so much. And hopefully you get signed and you get your fight set up. And next time I talk to you, you're making your debut.
Yeah, man. Let's do that. Let's talk again. And yeah, hopefully that's the case. That'd be fucking rad.